What is going on YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just BSN podcast. Yeah, I know we had a off week this past week. Honestly, with how the Browns ended things, it just seemed right to just take a little bit of a breather.
Mhm.
Everybody was obviously heated, myself included, and it's very easy after a game like that, after a loss like that, to really be upset. But we got a lot we got a lot to talk about today. So Andrew, how you feeling? About 10 days or so after that loss.
I mean, I feel better now.
Yeah,
But that break was definitely needed because I was beyond frustrated. I was beyond upset. Like I just it weighs a toll, especially when you like a team like the Browns who have a hard time making the playoffs. The last time was 2020, and then before that was 2002. So when you make a playoff game for the first time in 18 years and you get to the divisional and you get screwed over by helmet to helmet or targeting that was
yeah,
never called, and then you're out of the playoffs, which you could have won that game. And then you go back. Here we are, 3.5 years later. Back to the playoffs, and you get smoked by the youngest team in the league and C.J. Stroud, a rookie QB, and it's a wonder because now you're thinking like who's gonna stay, who's gonna leave this team. What we're gonna talk about here in a little bit. We already have some coaching changes that's happening. Um, but hopefully this new look team and what's gonna go on. We keep the playoff hopes alive. We still continue to make the playoffs for the next few years. We have to talk about some of the comments that Andrew Barry made. But I mean, overall, I feel okay now. Like I'm okay with what happened and what's been going on, and you just can't be mad forever.
yeah. I mean, it. Listen, man, it is what it is. Like I said, you and I were both pretty confident going into that game
Hmm.
because we both just, I mean, everything just felt right. Like
Yeah,
everything felt like, hey, this could be a fun year, this could be a fun run, and uh, unfortunately, the Flacco magic ended, and I that was my
yeah.
one fear going into this game. I was like, man, like I wonder if it's run its course. Like, when is Flacco gonna look like a 38-year-old quarterback? And he did. And
Yeah.
to be honest, it wasn't like he played bad, especially in that first half. Flacco only missed like 4 balls. He was like 20 of 24, or
Hmm.
something around there, and he did keep us in that game. And man, coming out of that half, you get a quick 3-and-out from Houston, and you get the ball back. You start driving. You're like, okay, man, yeah, sure, we're feeling good. We're feeling good. We're gonna score here. And then you throw like an 80, what was it, 86-yard pick,
Yeah.
six. And it started to suck the life out of that sideline. It sucked the life out of the team. And then you go back out there again, and it wasn't even a few plays later, and you throw another pick six, and it's game over at that point. And I'm sure a lot of us pretty much turned the game off after that last pick. I know I did, just because uh, it sucks. Like when that when that that kind of stuff happens, you kind of just try to take that L on the chin and just say, yeah, you know what, it is what it is. Like
Hmm.
Houston came in ready to play, and we didn't, straight up. And you waited until the game that you didn't, you couldn't afford to do that in, is the game you decided to not show up for.
Hmm.
I said this to Andrew before we got on here. I think everybody was a little nervous, honestly, um, and that's noted. Like, we still have to take into account this is still a pretty young roster. For the most
Still one of the
part,
youngest. Yeah.
it is. And I mean, again, man, we just got so lucky for so long. It was bound to happen when our third and fourth string linemen were finally going to give up sacks. It was bound to happen that our defense was going to start to get picked apart a little bit. Um, it was bound to happen that Joe Flacco was going to throw costly picks.
Hmm.
Um, it's just how the game works sometimes, and it's the rough part of football. But despite the loss, man, like, on the literal real, and I want to spend a good amount of time on this. The Browns are in a much better position after that, even after that bad loss, than I think we ever have been. The culture is here. The staff is going to improve now even more on the the offensive side of the ball. I think things feel okay. The guys were definitely upset, and they should be, but again, everybody sounded still so positive about like, man, we proved a lot this year. Like we proved a lot to ourselves. And once you heard that, a few days after that loss, it just made you feel a little bit better. Like, okay, it's all right. Like it happens. It is what it is. But this team is in a much better spot than it ever has been. And
Mhm.
I'm even more excited now, especially after this news conference that we got today from from AB. Just hearing about Chubb, starting to do two a days, in his workouts. Hearing Watson's ahead of schedule, like, and he sounds like he wants to spend more money. Like, we're just in a good spot. We have the right guys here. I truly do believe that we overcame a hell of a lot of adversity, and 2024 can't
Yeah.
come any faster because I'm really ready to see if this team can prove it. Like that's
Mhm.
we had it in 2020, and then we went back in 2021 and 2022, so it's now that prove it time,
I
and that's what I'm gonna look forward to.
I think what people tend to forget too was, you know, even before that game, dude, you look at the injuries we've had all season long. Like we had a full squad of injuries that were Pro Bowlers and
Hmm.
guys who would have made a massive difference. I mean, Nick Chubb. We had Deshaun Watson probably could have played well in this game. There's times where Joe Flacco got taken down and whatnot, and he could have ran away from pressure and either threw on the run or got a couple extra yards with his legs, and maybe those picks don't happen. Those pick sixes don't happen.
The
You
sacks
know,
don't happen
the
because you
sacks,
have
Dwan
Dewan
Jones,
Joneses and the
Jack
just
Conklin
yeah, just the guys that are there
matter.
and really mattered. And again, that's why I said like it was bound to happen that we were gonna look human
Mhm.
again. And yeah, it sucks, but yeah, dude, we're in such a good spot now.
Yeah.
I think guys genuinely want to be here now, and I mean, Browns fans, if that doesn't excite you still, despite the loss, I don't know what else to say. Because this team isn't done yet. They still have more to prove, and that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah. And
Really.
just imagine that team going into the game fully healthy with everybody. That's a totally different ball game, and I don't think Houston gets off scot easy like that. I think Houston were happy to play us because they're like, listen, these guys are loaded with injuries. And I mean, so were they. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
was like the injury bowl. Like, everyone was loaded with injuries, and it's basically just whose backups were better, whose three and fours were better, and they proved to be younger, faster, better. I would say better coached in that game. I mean,
Yeah.
Stefanski did all he could, but when your players don't execute, and you know, there's not much that a guy like Stefanski can do in those situations besides just try to keep his team alive. And you know, you can't help the dumb throws that Flacco made that were pick sixes. You can't. That's not on this coach. You can't help that Jerome Ford couldn't see the holes that were being formed, and he just goes right into his own offensive lineman. And there's things that happen in games like these where you can't. Everyone just immediately wants to go straight to Kevin Stefanski's throat for it, and it's like you can't because a lot of that is not on him. He's just the guy with the notes in his face calling the plays, and that's all he can do. He can't go out there and execute those plays.
Mm-hmm.
That's up to the players, and and we talked about this before, Jim Schwartz, what the hell was he doing with that defense? Like, we went from a cover one to zone coverage where, CJ Stroud was 29th in the NFL on cover one with a lot of heavy pressure. And that was your forte the entire season. And now you sit there and you play zone coverage, you back off, and you're giving Nico Collins room to make catches. You give him room to Nico Collins to just sprint deep downfield and using his speed and beating Denzel Ward and Newsome. these guys aren't good on the coverage, and we see that. We seen that the couple of years with, when we had Joe Woods as D coordinator. These guys got toasted by faster receivers because they're not zone coverage receivers. They're man coverage, beat you at the line of scrimmage, do the hand fighting on the line of scrimmage. They make you earn the catch by making you jump over them, around them, grab it, and then you draw, offensive pass interference, and you make them go back 10 yards or 15 yards, and that didn't happen. You allowed zone coverage, and they just Denzel Ward, a guy who was injured going into the game, got beat a lot, and I can't blame him because he was going into the game injured and he wanted to play. Newsome again, yeah, he got torched a lot. Again, I can't really blame him too much because he's not a zone coverage defensive player, and what do you expect him to do? It's like there's things that people tend to forget about football, and they allow their emotions to arise, and they sit there and they go on Twitter and whatnot, and they talk all this shit, and it's like, okay, cool, but you don't know ball though. You don't know what these guys are capable of. Like, look at the differences in the season when they played man coverage and when they played zone coverage. What did they look better in? They looked so much better in man, and guess what? Greg Newsome and all them look like in Pro Bowlers in man coverage. But when they play zone, everyone looks garbage because they're just not super fast, or they don't know how to drop back like that. And I get it's the NFL, but there's certain plays for a reason. There's reasons why you stick to man coverage. There's reasons why you stick to heavy pressure on the quarterback, because for your players and that your defense, that's what works. And when you go back to the Joe Woods defense, we saw what just happened. It was Joe Woods all over again, where we got torched in the middle of the field. We got torched on the outsides. We got zero pressure on the quarterback, and we allowed him 10 hours to just throw the ball wherever he wanted to, or he escape the pocket and just run for 15 yards. I get it, people are upset, but this is something that's hard to blame except for the schemes that were run. And that's all you can blame. It's not the players. The players, there's a reason why we were there, and it's because of the players. But when they're in the wrong scheme, everything collapses. And for some reason, Jim Schwartz chose the wrong time to play that scheme.
Yeah, and I'm gonna also say this too. You just said regarding the players, for whatever reason, it seemed like we just weren't motivated, or just not as hyped up. I mean, I don't want to say they weren't motivated, because that seems rude, and I don't want to disrespect the players in that way, but it just seemed like they just weren't as hyped up. They just weren't as fun as they were. They didn't have that swagginess that they usually play with, and I don't know why. I don't know if it was nerves. I don't know what it was. Again, I'm not gonna call out players and be rude. Guys like Newsome had a tough day. There was plenty of guys that didn't have their best games. There's guys that had the game of their life, like Jock. I mean, Jock had 4 or 5 tackles for loss alone. Myles Garrett did not have a great game. He was creating pressure, but he really didn't affect the game like you want him to do. And it could have just very well been that Houston was better prepared. It could have been injuries. Who knows? But whatever it was, Houston was just clearly the better team. They were better matched up for us. They came in more motivated. And dude, they got a hell of a player in CJ Stroud. I mean, that dude's just a natural born leader. He's a winner. He's gonna be a top 5 quarterback within the next 2 to 3 years, give or take. I would even go to say next year, or at least by year 3, MVP type status. He's just that good, and he's got enough good players. Houston still has the draft capital to continue to surround him with. They have plenty of money to work with. They're in a really good spot, and Houston's going to be a tough team in the AFC now. And again, that's when you have to look at Hey, we need Watson to take this, next step and not only play well, but stay fucking healthy. For Christ's sake, can we stay healthy? We need to find a way to stay healthy. We cannot keep surviving seasons where 20% of our starting roster is on IR. We just can't do it. Like, no team can do that. So whether that becomes changes within the training staff or something, I don't know, but do something because this is getting out of hand, man. I mean, just so frustrating that we were there and it was just sort of squandered. But I also said this plenty of times throughout the year that us having to make the playoffs in itself was our Super Bowl because of all of the the things that we dealt with, all of the injuries, just everything that happened this year. Like the fact we even went 11-5, the fact we even made a playoff game and made the fifth seed alone, dude, that's a feat in itself. Considering this team was 8-9 the past 2 years prior to that, it was needed. And that's why I think this team is in really good hands. I think we have the right pieces. I think we have the right staff, and guys want to be here. Like,
Yeah.
You got guys like Juan Thornhill who are just excited. Like, man, I can't wait to come back fully loaded. Like, that's what everybody was saying is like, I just can't wait to come back fully loaded. For next season. And I said earlier, AB sounds like he's ready to spend some money, and he's ready to do his job. He knows now that, okay, we have pieces, we have our staff, we're getting the rest of our staff completed, and then it's on. And then we got one more draft, and then we finally have first rounders again.
Yep.
And that's when, like, this is when now you're going to have to start winning. And that's what I'm going to look for. And Browns fans, again, I know that it was disappointing to see because it was like we were just this team of just destiny, it seemed like. But it's not over. I think we're in literally the best spot we've ever been in. Like, it makes me giddy for next year. And I'm very curious to see what AB cooks up for us in the offseason, for sure.
Yeah, no, and like you said, this is the best situation we could be in. We could be like we were in 2020, where 2020 it was just a lot of question marks after. Like, we didn't know who was coming back on the play. We didn't know who was going, and you didn't know what the future held for Baker Mayfield. And there's too many question marks. And we didn't make the playoffs in 21. Baker ended up leaving. We traded him away for Deshaun Watson, and Watson obviously got the half a season suspension and came back and played the last half of the season. Then, played the first few games of this season, did pretty well. And then, the Tennessee game was his, Tennessee game was his best game. And we all thought, this is it. He's back. Like, Deshaun Watson had the best game of his life with the Browns and
gets hurt.
And it's on, and boom, out for the season.
Well,
out
for a few games. Baltimore game, he has the second half of his fucking life, 14-14, perfect. Wins that game for us, or at least helps us win that game, and then breaks his shoulder.
Yeah,
and that's the Browns for you, man.
No, and that's how it was, because I tell you what, we were seeing Deshaun Watson starting to rise again, and of course, as soon as he starts to rise, bam, reality comes back and gets injured, and I know what AB said in his press conference today. The Deshaun Watson plan was for about 10 years, and it's a 10-year project. And I know a lot of people were excited because how often have the Browns had a legit starting quarterback for a decade, which been a while. It's about Bernie Kosar, but a lot of people were truly pissed off because they're like, well, the money. Okay, well, he's not the highest paid quarterback in the league anymore. That's Joe Burrow. That's Lamar Jackson. That's Trevor Lawrence. It's all those guys. Now you might see, Jordan Love get the bag. Josh Allen just got a bag.
Get the bag.
Baker could get a bag. All these players,
even Goff could get the bag.
And Goff deserves the bag at this point. And everyone's like, Well, all their money's not guaranteed. It's like, no, but they're still making twice as much as Deshaun Watson is. So it makes the Deshaun Watson money look like baby money now.
Yeah.
And, you know, what we said at the time was it was smart because it set the precedent of what quarterbacks were going to have to pay. The Lamar Jackson situation with the Baltimore Ravens, he almost left because they didn't know if
Mhm.
they could pay that much for for Lamar. They're
Yeah.
like, shit, man. Like, if Deshaun Watson's worth 230 mil guaranteed, we don't know what we're gonna do with Lamar. And there was tensions in Baltimore at that point,
Yeah.
and it was almost like if Lamar doesn't win us a Super Bowl, he's got to go. Like at this point,
Hmm.
and you better hope he wins you this AFC Championship game because if KC wins, then oh my god, like
Yeah.
there's more questions about.
Yeah.
And we can blame the contract all we want. Like, oh well, now we can't sign players. We can't do this. We can't. We're gonna be bankrupt for the next 5 years. And it's like that's not true because number one, you have Andrew Berry, who's the master of restructuring contracts, which he's done all year.
Yep.
And what he's done was he also been restructuring Deshaun's contract, like he did last season. He did it again this season. So he's and it's in Deshaun's contract that Andrew Berry could touch the money and restructure it, and he has been. And it's not like Deshaun's pissed about it.
Uh,
He's they're getting the deals, so that way the Browns are staying in the positives. So it's not like we completely ruined our salary cap. We haven't. And like you said, we get a first rounder next year, so we start getting our first rounders again. And again, like we said, this is the best possible situation we could be in because you still have money to burn. You still have one of the best salary caps in the league right now. You have money to burn. You could buy other players. You can set yourself up. You can probably go out and get a couple other offensive linemen. So in case if Conklin goes down with another 15th ACL injury or something or ankle injury,
yeah.
and Jed Wills goes down, or if you want to get rid of Wills, you have options. You could get offensive linemen because guess what? They might want to come here.
Hmm.
You could get people to back it. I mean, I saw Jason Kelsey, decide to leave the Eagles, and it's like, well, he didn't say he was fully retired yet.
Yeah.
That was just the media who said he was retired. He never came out and said he was retired. I listened to New Heights.
Yeah.
He never said he was retired. Not
And
yet.
people are saying the same thing about Travis too, and,
Yeah.
and it's like, listen, those guys could both leave the league, and they would be more than you know, deserving. But if they both, or at least one of them, had a chance to come back to Cleveland,
I'm sure they
I think
would.
they would. I mean, I think
MGK
Jason would
offered.
be more likely. I mean, to be
I mean,
honest, I really do. I think Jason would be more likely to do that than Trav, just because Travis has Pat. But
yeah.
I
But
mean,
I mean, you could see towards the end of maybe Travis's career too. Maybe he'll come back and play like a season or two with the
mhm,
Browns, and
yeah,
you know, I'm not saying he's gonna take over Njoku's spot, but he'll take over
no,
Harrison Bryant's spot.
yeah, which is totally fine with me. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, when we go back to what you said about this whole 10-year plan, I want to remind people that Deshaun Watson is a day younger than me. I'm 28 years old, by the way. He was
yeah,
born September 14th. I was born September 13th. This guy is still young. He's not even 30 yet. Like,
yeah.
we have time with this guy. We have so much time with this
He's
guy.
just now entering his prime.
Yeah, and he really hasn't had a chance to enter his fucking prime because since 2020 he's been suspended and he's been doing all this stuff, and it's like, you know, I know there's a lot of backlash with him. I know there's a lot of crap, but whether those fans like it or not, he's our quarterback, and there's nothing that we as fans can do about it. So
Just
if you
gotta
don't want to
support
root
him.
for him, don't root for him. It's fine. There's plenty of players to root for on this team that are
Yeah,
lovely, that are amazing. Um, but at the end of the day, this is where we are, and there's nothing that we can do about it. So please shut up. Quit making statuses about Baker Mayfield doing great in Tampa Bay. Yeah, he's doing great in Tampa Bay because he's got a better receiving core that he had with us. He's got a better system that's just better fit for him. It's okay. Like,
and he's also in the worst division in football, so of course he's gonna make the
yeah,
playoffs.
yeah. I mean, but also again, like, I just don't think Baker would have had that success with us regardless. Like, I just think
Yeah,
it's one of those things where, like, sometimes guys have to leave certain teams to do better. Like, that's why
Jared Goff with the Rams.
dude. And the next guy that I am gonna look for that is gonna be Justin Fields. I'm telling you what,
Hmm.
wherever he goes next, I think he's gonna do so much better, and because the guys are gonna believe in him a lot more, and they're gonna build a system for him specifically to
Yeah.
just tailor to his strengths and make him better. Um, but again, sometimes it happens, and
Hmm.
like people can say, "Oh man, we screwed up," blah blah blah, like whatever. Be critical, whatever. I don't give a shit. It's sports. That's what happens. But there's a bigger plan here. Um, the window is not, super small. Like this window is plenty big still. And I think the young guys that are really starting to come on for this team are going to really shape this team to be
Hmm.
a legit team for a while. Delpit, Jock, man, sign Jock tomorrow. Like sign him to
Absolutely.
a new deal tomorrow. That dude played the best year that he's played so far. He stayed healthy all year long. I don't think Jock missed a game this year, which is the
No,
first time
he
that's
played.
happened in his career.
He played a full season.
And he put on weight, and everybody was scared that he was going to be slow. I thought he was faster. He was
Yeah.
more consistent. He was constantly in attack mode. Um, you know, it's just there's a good feeling around this team, man, and that's why let's be upset because we want more, but understand that we're there.
Our time
We
has
are
come.
we are there. The Bengals are gonna start slowing down because I'm telling you
Yeah.
right now they're gonna lose Higgins. Jamar is gonna get his his money, but they're gonna make some changes. There's gonna be some changes to that team.
And the thing is too, and I've told this to other Bengals fans too. Once Jamar gets his bag, Joe Burrow already has the most expensive contract. You're gonna give Jamar the same kind of contract.
Good luck.
They're gonna be damn near broke
Yeah,
just from those two people alone. And like you said, T Higgins is walking, and Tyler Boyd are both walking out the door.
yeah, I think so.
Zach Taylor's not a genius. He's not a
No,
he's been carried by Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow.
yeah.
Without those two, he's one of the worst head coaches in football.
Well, yeah,
Like
because before
he's
that they were
horrible.
terrible. Like
Yeah.
before Joey B, they were terrible. They were bottom of
Hmm.
the barrel teams,
Well,
especially in the AFC North.
we saw what happened when he went down. They were horrible.
Yeah,
They were absolutely awful once Joe Burrow got injured. And Jamar Chase couldn't do anything because the guy who throws him the ball well is gone,
yeah,
and he has no one to throw him the ball, and he's now not effective.
yeah,
So if one of those goes down, the other guy's not effective. Now Joe Burrow can do a lot with less, but because he doesn't need Jamar Chase needs him.
yeah,
And when Joey B and people want to talk about Deshaun's contract, at least we're not paying for a guy who tears his ACL every single season
yeah.
and misses an entirety of a season. Not to discredit Joe Burrow, fantastic guy, fantastic QB, very lovable guy, but again, we want to talk about Deshaun. Joe Burrow is the most injured quarterback in the league. It's like having Andrew Luck on your team.
Yeah.
The guy is elite and so good, but he cannot stay healthy enough to stay on the field and make any difference. The
Yeah.
Bengals are going to be on a decline. The Steelers are going to be on a rapid decline because now they don't know if Mike Tomlin's going to stay. And if he goes, that team is gone.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like Tomlin is going to stay, but I think it's because a lot of those players are very adamant in trying
Yeah,
to keep him because
he's the only reason they're in the
Watt.
playoffs.
Yeah, I mean Watt literally said it's a part of my contract that
Yeah.
if he goes, I go, and I said,
Yeah,
all right,
well, Watt's not going to play for a shit team like the Steelers if they're gonna be on a declining time like that. You don't want to waste Watt's prime.
no, you don't.
Like he's gonna go to a San Francisco. He's gonna go somewhere else where he can shine still and be elite and be himself. I almost said, if he does go, put him next to Miles Garrett.
God, yeah, that.
Could you imagine those two together? Oh my days!
I mean, you want to talk. I mean, you want to talk about a real cleanup artist. Miles Garrett would free up Watt so much that Watt would have like 26 sacks in a season with him.
You'd have to
Like,
put them both
it
as
would be
defensive
nuts.
player of the year.
Yeah, I mean, he would. It wouldn't be even a joke. But
But
like, I mean, the thing about the Steelers too is obviously they still need a new, coordinator on offense, and it sounds like they're gonna still roll with Pickett, but you know,
They
I
need
still don't.
talent.
I still don't think he's legit. I still don't think he's going to be the quarterback of the future.
Well, what they
He
need
has his
is
moments, but he's just not elite.
they just no, and he needs O line help. He needs a better running back than Najee Harris. I think Jalen Warren's better than Najee Harris.
And same with Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
He fucking needs offensive line help
Well,
badly. That's the reason why he's hurt half the time.
the problem is they dropped the bag on Leo Collins and all these other guys to
And then
keep him
they're not
upright.
even healthy. Yeah,
Well, it's not even that they're not healthy. They just didn't protect him at all either.
yeah. Like they didn't do anything.
So it's like you dropped the whole bag in almost an entirely new offensive line,
Yeah.
and they were just as bad as the one before. So they need to worry about keeping Burrow upright before they, and that was my thing too. When the draft happened with Jamar Chase and stuff, I said the Bengals don't need Jamar Chase. I was like, what they need is they need Penei Sewell. They need an offensive lineman. They need a guy who could keep Burrow upright. And they're like, well, we'll go Jamar Chase. I was like, yeah, you made it to the Super Bowl that season, but Joe Burrow was getting smacked around all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the only real team in the AFC North that's obviously going to be tough and always be tough is going to be Baltimore. But
Yeah,
we
but we're gonna
also
give the next
proved
competition behind them.
yeah, and we also proved that we could beat them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure they were, so thrilled that they got to face Houston instead of us.
Yeah,
Because I think that was an easier game plan for them. Had we pulled that one out, but
mm-hmm.
again, the AFC North is quite literally, I would say, the toughest conference in the entire league. Um,
For sure.
it's one of the toughest ones, and to have two teams come out of there and go to the playoffs is not unheard of because we had three. The fact that Pittsburgh even made it this year is also another just insane surprise. But again, it's because Mike Tomlin is just he's a freaking winner, man. Like
Yeah,
that's a dude that you want on your sideline, like regardless, just because he just knows how to win games. He just knows how to dig within that team and make them play well. I don't know what it is, man. He's just got some magic to him. So, I get Steelers fans want him gone, but like you have to
he's the reason why you
understand
win.
he's been the most consistent thing that you've had, obviously in a while. And I know you guys haven't won playoff games, but it's because you have crappy quarterback play. You have your defense decides to wear down at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not really Tomlin's fault. It really isn't.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, the Browns are in a good place, and honestly, this starts to take me into the next thing that I want to try to discuss here. Is what's ahead for us now? Is again, we already said you got to sign guys like Jock. Delpit is going to be in question. You're gonna have to make a choice on Jed Wills, on Jack Conklin, on Pochich even. You have decisions to make there
mm-hmm.
on the line, and you also have choices to make with quarterback 2. You have choices to make with running back 2 and 3. There's going to be some changes made, but one thing is for certain: Kevin Stefanski. Whether he wins Coach of the Year, I think losing to Houston did hurt that. But the only other guy that could get it is either Dan Campbell, which I think is probably going to be the only one that gets more votes, or Ryans from Houston.
D'Amico Ryans, yeah.
Other than that, he is. But Kevin Stefanski, you better lock him up for the next 3 to 5 years, because he's the coach that we need. The players absolutely love him. I think it would be a shame for him to not get a deal after this season, and I think AB knows that. AB spoke very highly of him. I think he now fully believes in Kevin, and I wouldn't say he never did. It's just after a season like this, it's like, all right, man, you've proven that you can handle adversity. You can get these guys to rally around. Like you've now built your culture, and culture is the biggest thing that I have taken away from this season. Is the culture of this team is just not only different, but it's the absolute healthiest that we have had since we have have come back in '99. Like truly, this team is not toxic anymore. There's not any like truly negative vibes. It's just everybody likes each other. The staff is really great. As long as Haslam keeps his hands out of the mix, I mean, the team is just in a good place. And I've said that a lot today. But man, oh man, like you just can't help but be excited about this offseason. And I'm really excited to see what we have to cook up there.
Yeah, and I actually just got some news on Twitter. Adam Schefter broke out that the Titans are working to finalize a deal to hire Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan as the next head coach of the Titans. So
Which
that's
means, yeah, which means Bill Callahan will probably follow in, and if so,
that
we're probably gonna have a new offensive line coach. Which listen, I don't want to lose Bill Callahan. He's been outstanding for this own line, but I think there's plenty of great guys that you can bring in that will still bring in excellent leadership, even a younger sort of presence. Now I think that would be fine too. You know, it sounds like we're going to bring in the former Seattle lineman coach to be our running back coach. I'm sure he has guys that he could hire in with that staff that would work well with them. Who knows? But yeah, that's going to be a thing that's going to happen. But I know the Browns also are going to bring in it's like a former OC for Bama to be our tight end coach, and that's cool. Like it's just bringing in, like I think Stefanski has finally just realized, like, you know what, it's not a bad thing to bring in really experienced guys like Jim Schwartz. I think just really helped him with his own coaching, and I've said that before, but like I truly mean it. I really think that by doing that, I think it gave him a different perspective, and it gave him a chance to learn a lot about coaching is in itself at this level. Like I just don't think Joe Woods had that, and when you bring in experience like that, it's going to benefit everybody anyway. So I mean, we'll see what happens with Callahan. We'll see if he wants to leave or not. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised because it is his son, so like it makes sense. I get it,
mhm. And
but
that's been the
it's gonna
news
be
going
interesting.
around, and that's been the news going around is that
Yeah.
there could be a good chance that with Brian Callahan going to Tennessee that Bill would follow in his tracks and be the O line coach in Tennessee to
Yeah.
be with his son. And I mean, I get it. That's understandable. Like you want to be with your kid, you want to help him out as your son is now the head coach of a football team for the first time in his career, and you want to be there to guide him because as Bill himself, I think was a head coach for a minute
Yeah.
for a couple teams. So I mean, I think having his dad in Tennessee makes the most sense because he could offer him advice and he could offer him help as he watches his kid, and it's probably a proud dad moment too, as your kid becomes the head coach of a professional football team, and he took on the same dreams as you did, and I mean, I'm no matter what, I'd be happy and excited for Bill Callahan because he's been fantastic for us,
Yeah.
and like you said, we have already a few vacancies as we got rid of Van Pelt as the OC. We got rid of Stump Mitchell, the running backs coach. We got rid of TC McCartney, who is our tight ends coach. All three of those guys are gone. We already discussed that we are currently looking at Tommy Reese to be the tight ends coach, the guy from Alabama, to come in and
Hmm.
be our tight ends coach, which I wouldn't mind. There's a chance that we talked about. I think his name is Gerard Johnson, who is the QB's coach down in Houston right now,
Yep.
who worked with CJ Stroud when he was 16 years old. So
Yeah.
that could be huge because he could become and be your new offensive coordinator and really get behind and help Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
So that would be good to have. And then you at that point you just got to figure out. Well, you got Deuce, who could be your running backs coach, who's the running backs coach for Carolina, and
Yeah.
there's
There's
guys
definitely
that
options. Yeah.
There's
plenty of
plenty of
options.
options. And Deuce Staley, I was trying to think of his last name. I almost
Yeah.
said Deuce Vaughn. That's the running back for Dallas, the backup running back. But no, Deuce Staley was the he was the coach for the Eagles for a little bit. He did special teams and quality. Then he was a running backs coach and an assistant head coach up until 2020. And then he was the assistant coach, head coach, and running backs coach for the Lions in 21, 22, and then the same thing for the Panthers in this past season.
Okay.
So he, and he's had success. I mean, he has had good success with the Eagles.
Yeah.
I mean, Eagles have had some good running backs over the years and over the past decade that were good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's bad. Like it sounds like Browns already have like the options that they're kind of are looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, we're pretty much getting ready to sign Reese to be the Titans coach. That's pretty much already in the works. I think they're finalizing a contract for him as we speak.
Yeah.
So, and that's per Mary Kay Cabot. So that's coming in soon. So we pretty much already found our new tight ends coach. If we go with Deuce Staley, there's your running backs coach. And I mean, for me, it's between the Gerard Johnson for OC or Tim Kelly, because Tim Kelly also worked with Deshaun Watson in Houston as the offensive coordinator when Deshaun had his best season. Was it like 2019 or something? 2018, 2019. So,
Like that.
and that's when they made the championship game against Kansas City and just barely lost.
Well.
And that was a shootout game too, because it was like a high scoring. It was like a 45 to like 43 game or something. Like that was crazy high scoring. So those are two guys who would fit perfect with Deshaun Watson because they know him, they know how he operates. Even if Gerard Johnson hasn't worked with him, he knows the style because obviously he's worked with CJ Stroud since CJ Stroud was a teenager. So he knows how to utilize a mobile quarterback like that. Or like I said, you go with Tim Kelly, who actually used Deshaun Watson and worked with him. So I think the Browns have the coaching people that they want. Now, if it's true that Bill Callahan goes to Tennessee, now you have to find a new O-lines coach.
Yeah. And I do want to speak on one last thing before we move on from the Brownies. I know a lot of people were a little upset about Stump, getting the boot.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this before we got on here. Stump is a very likable dude, and I have nothing but respect for him. But if we are bluntly honest about him as a running backs coach, about the production of our running backs in themselves, he was very much overshadowed by Nick Chubb. And I think anybody that doesn't see that or just has not seen that is just blinded by just the likeness of Stump. He was a very likable coach. Everybody loved him, and I get that, but we all felt the same way about Freddie Kitchens, and look what happened there.
Yeah.
And I'm not comparing him to Freddie because Freddie was a abysmal coach, but Stump was there because the guys liked him, and I think there's just a need of change sometimes, and it's what I want people to understand about this league is guys are likable and they're good, but sometimes you just need a change of pace. You need a change of scenery in some guys. It's just how it works. But it's pretty hard to defend him after Chubb went down because Jerome Ford had good moments, and I do think the guy has talent. He just needs work with running through the gaps, running better between the tackles. Hunt played great this year.
Mm-hmm.
He had 9 rushing touchdowns this year, not even including the playoff game, I think. He produced for us, especially starting to come off the couch like Flacco did. We just didn't get enough production out of those guys, and whether you blame Stump through that, I don't know. Obviously our line was pretty bad after everybody went down, but it's just a change in scenery, and I get people are mad, but that's how it goes. And what stinks is I've seen big play did a interview with him, and then News Channel 5 just did one with Cameron
Yeah.
Justice. So he's getting a lot of the spotlight right now because again everybody liked him so much, and it's very easy for him to now go on a media run, and if he wants to air out some dirty laundry, he's going to, and that's going to be the the news for the next week or so, is if he says anything bad about us or not, and I
And
just
I don't
hope he
think he
doesn't.
really I don't think he really has much bad to say about us because I think looking at that kind of stuff too, I think he's actually just been kind of been thankful for his time here and been happy with his time here and stuff like that. So I think he's very much like, and Stump definitely doesn't seem like that guy who would throw shade at the Browns or do stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I highly doubt that Stump would throw shade. I mean, he's a likable guy and he's just a chill guy.
I mean, I hope not, but yeah, I mean,
I hope not either.
I'm sure there's gonna be some stuff that he is gonna say. Like I know he said on a big play, he said that he doesn't think that Stefanski needs to give up play calling, which I don't
Yeah.
totally disagree with. But again, I think Stefanski wants to have more oversight on the team, and if he decides to give up play calling, it's because of that. It's not
Mm.
because he thinks he can't do it, because I mean, he could clearly do it. I mean, he did it, and our offense played well enough, but they didn't play great with Watson. And I think he's just realizing, like, I need a different perspective with Watson, and I need to open my horizons on that. So we'll see how that goes. But I do want to
Yeah.
switch up a little bit here. We're going to talk a little bit about Ohio State, and then I want to talk about the Cavs right now because as of right now, they are up big on
Yeah.
Orlando. Sam Merrill right now has 20 at halftime.
Yeah. 6 of 7
Six
from
of seven for three.
three.
So yeah, we'll
Unreal.
talk about that in a little bit. But dude, Ohio State, baby, Ohio State came out swinging these past few weeks. All of the talk was with that team up north. Obviously, we were incredibly critical of Ryan Day after losing, and
Mm.
this is nut up or shut up time for him. And he's saying, "All right, fine, you guys like you guys want me to throw the bag, I'll throw the bag at everybody." And it helps when guys like Nick Saban decide to retire. That's gonna help you in this case because you land Caleb Downs. You just got that 5-star quarterback who is a
Ju-
freshman,
Julian saying,
and he is insane. And he's gonna come in at the same time as Aaron Nolan does.
yeah.
Uh, I mean, the quarterback room is just stuffed. It's so stuffed. I'm
I
sure
mean,
there's going to be more guys that do
I mean,
decide to leave.
you got three from Bama. I mean, um,
And the
you also
lineman,
got you
the
got the
center.
offensive lineman Seth McLaughlin,
Yeah.
and so you got a offensive lineman. You got Caleb Downs and Julian Saints. So you got two 5 stars from Bama and a 4-star, and you also
And you
got
got Will Howard. You got that freaking running
yeah,
back from Ole Miss, who
Miss
was the best
yeah,
running back in the in that freaking SEC last year. Um, and then you bring back. I mean, Ohio State has brought back basically everybody on defense, which is huge.
yeah,
Um, you've brought back a lot of your line on
yeah,
offense
and
that was good.
a lot of those guys who would have gone to the draft said, "Let's run it back."
Yeah, and like the only one you couldn't keep was Harrison. But honestly, like
Everyone knew that he was gone.
everyone knew, and like you know, with all due respect, Harrison is so NFL ready. It's not even funny.
He's the
It
most NFL ready
makes
player ever.
yeah, it makes way more sense for him, for him to go than Ibuka. I
Yeah,
think I think he made the right choice in saying, you know what, I need one more year here. Like,
yeah,
let me get my
with a
wide
legit good
receiver
quarterback.
1, 2, days, and you're gonna have him next to Carnell Tate, next to
Hmm.
Jeremiah Smith. This is gonna be a fun young roster. It's going to be
A
very
great QB
fun,
battle too. Aaron
and
Nolan, Will
yeah,
Howard, like
and
Julian saying it's gonna be
and
a
the
great QB room.
and the one thing that I haven't even mentioned yet is we brought in Bill O'Brien, which
Yeah,
from the NFL standpoint, I know I did not like, but at a college level, this guy is going to bring a lot of leadership and a lot of brightness to this team.
Yeah,
That it's
he's got
gonna
the NFL
really really
knowledge.
help. Yeah, it's really really gonna help. And I think he's gonna be fine with Will Howard, and I think he's gonna do wonders for Ryan Day just because he's gonna give Ryan Day that like leadership that he needs. Because I think Ryan Day sometimes can be a little immature uh, as a head coach, and I just think he needs guys like that. Um,
That'll get Vrabel on that defense,
but yeah, could you imagine if we brought him in as a defensive coordinator or like
and
as
then you
a
fire Ryan Day and put him as head.
literally. Yeah, dude, that's another surprise too that Vrabel has not even got a like. I don't even think
Coaching
anybody
job.
had. Nobody has brought him in
I
for
figured the
any sort of head
Patriots would.
coaches. Yeah, I mean, I thought he would too, but Jared Mayo got that job almost instantly, which I think was in his contract anyway. Last year, apparently.
Yeah,
It sounds like Bill is going to go to Atlanta. The Titans just got their guy, so I mean, it's gonna be interesting. But Ohio State is in some good hands too. And
good. Yeah,
again, this is not up or shut up time for Ryan Day. He's ready to prove it.
you
They
have the
have
team to beat
thrown
Michigan.
they have thrown the mother effing bag at these players. And here's the other thing too. Jim Harbaugh is probably going to leave. I think he's
Yeah,
going to go to the Chargers. Personally, I think that's where
yeah.
he lands. Especially if Bill Belichick is going to Atlanta, I think the Chargers is literally his destination. I think it makes the most sense for him. You know, good quarterback play, young guys who he can really build around. It just really start to say, all right, you go, you go, you go. Let's start here. And once that happens, I mean, Michigan's gone down the drain because they're going to lose JJ. They're going to lose um, a
Corum.
bunch of key guys. They're going to lose both of their running backs. They're going to lose their top corner. They're going to lose their top wide receiver. Like they're going to lose a lot of guys from that championship game because a lot of them came back last year to win the Natty.
Yeah,
And
and the
this
thing
doesn't
is
even
too.
include what's going to happen, like the sanctions. They
Yeah,
could get absolutely murked for the next 2 years because of the cheating scandal.
and lose the Natty, so
Yeah,
that
they
Natty might
could.
not even count. The
Yeah,
Natty might not even count. So, like, you did all that for the Natty to probably not count. All of your guys are gone. You've had one of the worst recruitings you've had in years. Like, they have yet to get a 5-star, and I think they only gotten like what 3, 4 stars. Other than that, they haven't gotten pretty much jack shit from recruiting. So Michigan are in, and we've predicted this too. Michigan are in an awful spot right now, and if they get hit with that cheating scandal, they're probably banned from the college football playoff. They probably lose the trophy they just won. Like it sets them back for years,
yeah,
and that
really
puts
good.
Ohio State back at the top of the map and at the top of the Big Ten. Like Michigan State has already said, like shit, we're screwed because they just got they got the quarterbacks, they got the two quarterbacks, they got the running back, they got Caleb Downs. They got all these people, and Michigan State's like, well, shit, we're screwed.
Yeah,
Everyone's like, Wisconsin, shit, we're screwed.
yeah,
There's nobody else to compete with Ohio State. Once Jim Harbaugh leaves, and I think half that coaching staff said they'll leave too, you have no recruitment, no coaches, no players. That Natty's probably gone, so that's going to drain the school. You have nothing, and you're going to get set back, and Ohio State's going to be reigning supreme at the Big Ten again.
and not even to even
But
mention your
Oregon's coming in.
Oregon, USC,
USC,
UCLA,
UCLA.
and Washington, right?
I
Or not
forget.
Washington.
I think it's
somebody
Washington.
else.
It might. Yeah.
Uh, uh, but I know it's 4 more teams, and at least one of those teams are going to be really really good because well, probably both of them. Honestly, all of them are going to be good besides probably UCLA.
Yeah.
And it's just like man, um, like Ohio State just came ready, and I'm happy that they decided to finally get active in the transfer portal because people were getting very critical and upset after, uh, before that bowl game, and they're like, man, why aren't we going after people in the portal? We're missing out on all these guys, blah blah blah. And I'm like,
Hmm.
man, just be patient. Like, stop worrying about it. And of course, after that game, they're like, all right, now we know what we need to work on. Now we know who we need to really, hone in on. And then Nick Saban retires, and also Caleb Downs is like, hey, I should have came here last year, but I think I'll come here today. And as a starting freshman, the dude was outstanding for them as a safety, but he's also a punt returner, which I did not know. Who's a very good punt returner. And then you bring in a guy like Jeremiah Smith, who's going to be excellent. You could still redshirt him if you want to. I doubt he gets redshirted. But you just have so much talent on this team. You have so much capability of coming back and really running it back with these guys. The fact that everybody on that defense, but like a few guys who are literally draft eligible anyway, came back. Like JT came back. Jack Sawyer, that big D tackle we have, like our whole D line came back.
Also,
All of
you
our
were
corners
right.
came back. Our
It is
safety came
Washington.
back. Like Steele Chambers, I'm pretty sure is the only guy that and Eichenberg are the
Yeah.
only guys who pretty much have to go into the draft because I'm pretty sure they're seniors anyway.
Yep.
So like, it is what it is. So the fact that you don't lose a lot there, and you're bringing a lot back, says a lot about what Ryan Day is trying to prove here. And I just really hope he pulls through with it. Like I really hope that he makes it known that like this year, like guys, we need to come ready to play Michigan, but we need to come ready to play everybody this year. No more screwing around. We are, a big time school. Let's act like it, because that loss to Michigan and that loss to Missouri was awful. The loss to Missouri. Missouri's a good team and all, but 14-3. I mean, that was such a snooze fest of a bowl game that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just a horrible time and a horrible way to go out. That has to leave a very nasty taste in your mouth, and you got to be upset about that. So, let's see what they can do. But yeah, Ryan Day has to prove it. I mean, and plus he's got a new AD now, because they brought in that guy from Texas A&M, I think, to be their new AD at Ohio State. So now he has new leadership above him saying, "Hey, man, we spent a lot of money this year. If you don't win, you're gone. Like there's no other way he can get around that if he can't win, with these guys. So we'll see. But
Yeah, we'll see. And you were right. It's Washington as the fourth team
okay.
that goes to the Big Ten. So
Yeah. So yeah, we will end here now with the Cavs, who are currently on a 7-game winner, and right now they're up huge at halftime against the Magic. It's currently 72-47. It is halftime right now. Obviously, we said Sam Merrill has 20 points right now, 6 of 7 from 3 rebounds. I mean, the dude, all he's shooting is 3-pointers, bro. Like
I told
all
you,
this dude does is drain threes.
it's
All
it's
this
a
dude
Kyle
does.
Korver remake. He's
Yeah.
a Kyle Korver remake. That's all he is.
I mean, he's just so impressive. Everybody is plus tonight right now that's playing. I think Levert is out with the wrist, so I mean that's gonna give Merrill more of a chance to play anyway. Struss is playing fine. Mitchell's playing okay, but he's at least positive. He's got 3 assists, or actually, wow, Donovan's got 9 assists.
Yeah,
He's got 9 assists, so he is gonna have a double for sure. Actually,
I think
he's going to.
To be honest, I think 6 of them are for are for Sam Merrill.
Probably, to be honest with you, he's probably just leading the hot hand and say, "Hey, man, you got this. Go ahead."
Yeah, just keep popping him.
And so, and again, we're doing this without Darius Garland and Isaiah Mobley. Like we are doing this without guys that are very key, or not Isaiah Mobley, Evan Mobley. I don't know why I said Isaiah. Isaiah is the younger brother. But without Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, we're doing this. And we're streaking right now. We're 7 games, about to be 8. Because I mean, if you blow this lead, I might have to punch you in the balls or something. I don't know, but like
Yeah.
we're shooting 54.5% from 3, shooting 58% from the field as a whole, 76.9% at the free throw line. You're playing well, and you're playing confident. this team that we have been waiting to really start to play better. And we're doing this right now on the road, which we're
Yeah.
only 10-7 on the road. The Magic are 14-6 at home, and we are just whooping that ass. Um,
Well, and also
it is really
too, the
good to
Magic
see.
are good. The Magic are a good team as well. It's not like
Yeah,
the Magic
yeah,
are a
they're a good
horrible
team.
team,
Yeah, they're a good
and
team. They're 23-20.
they're 14-6 at home, so
Yeah,
they're a good home side, and you're beating them by 20.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
So it's insane.
yeah. So I mean, to be up this much, right now, you just gotta kind of keep the pace up. But overall, like when you go on, on these little win streaks, I think these like 7 to 8 game winners, and then you lose one, and then you go on another 4 and 5 game winning streak, lose another one. That's where you build momentum and where you start to build consistency, because it's really hard to win consistently in that league. Like it's very hard because I mean, guys are talented, and teams are going to come out and just play so well. I mean, that's why like teams like the Lakers, they have all of the talent in the
Yeah,
world, but they don't always show up. But then when they do, they beat the hell out of teams because they're just so damn talented. The Cavs are talented, but they also just have a better roster this year than they had last year. And guys are really starting to come on, like Sam Merrill. I mean, that dude deserves to be in the constant rotation. Like we should have a constant 9 to even 10 man you know ro- you know ro- rotation at this point. Even when our starters come back. Because one thing that I really want to see gone is I want Dean Wade the hell out of this team. I
well,
want
the
him
thing
gone
is,
so badly.
everyone. It's funny looking at Twitter. Everyone wants Sam Merrill to be a starter over Dean Wade,
Yeah, yeah, but I
which is
mean,
like get him some more minutes, and it's like I mean, I agree. Like I think you keep Dean Wade around just because he's a good defensive player,
right. But like
and you
Niang
want the
deserves
deep.
more than him.
Niang deserves more time. Again, Sam Merrill deserves a lot of time. I mean, you might instead of you could switch Niang and Dean Wade, and you could switch out Struss for Sam Merrill.
But again, once Mobley comes back, he's gonna grab you
Dean
know
Wade spot.
30 plus minutes a game because he's young enough to.
Hmm.
Um, and so you're not going to need as much from Wade, especially if you decide, hey, let's put Nang at the 4. You can
Yeah,
do that because Struss is 6'8" and he's playing shooting guard right now. He could play small forward, and same with Okoro. And Okoro is only 6'6", but he plays big and he plays physical. And he's playing better. I mean, he's got 6 points tonight. He has a three, two of two from the field. He plays a good amount of minutes. So, um, but yeah, again, dude. I mean, you can't say anything enough about Sam Merrill. I mean, what a dude that kid
and I
is.
and I called it too. I was at the
Yeah,
stadium when he made his debut, and I said this kid's gonna be a baller, and everyone's
yeah,
like
he
looking at
is.
me, and I'm like, and as soon as he came on the court, he drained like three threes in a row. I'm like, I told you this guy's gonna be a baller.
Yep. And again, you don't even have Amani Bates right now. Like,
Is he
if you
suspended from the
find,
charge?
yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, going
Yeah,
into the stands. Him and I can't. Someone else got it suspended too on the
mm,
charge. It was him and someone else.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I mean, you're gonna have have that stuff. He's young, but like, having a guy like him, if
Yeah,
guys get injured and you need him to come up, I mean, he's gonna ball and he's gonna make plays and score. So to have guys like that off the bench, super nice
fantastic.
because because that's really what you need off your bench. You need scoring. You don't need a lot of the
Mhm.
defense. The defensive stuff, I think, is a little more for the starters. Like you want your best defenders as your starters or guys that are playing 30 plus minutes a night. But guys like Sam Merrill, I mean, you give him 25 minutes a night, and he's going to give you 15 to 25. Just because he can drain threes all night. I mean, that's so huge, and it makes such a difference. He's that, like he's kind of what you wanted, the J.D. Osmonds to be, the Joey Harrises to be before Joey Harris became, what he is now. But like
Yeah,
now you have him, and now you're able to use him, and you're like, all right, man, this guy's greenlit. Like, let's go. Like, let him rock it. and he has, and that's a big reason I think why this team is streaking the way they are is just because they've just found a solid rotation that can work with this team well. Everybody's getting along, everybody's playing
Yep.
fine,
And they
and it's
found a good
showing up.
rhythm.
Yeah, and it's
They found
showing
a
up,
great
and
rhythm.
and now Donovan Mitchell has 17, so he's starting to to score a little bit now too. Uh, I think he had like 9 points at halftime or something, or like
He had
11.
11. He had 11, so he scored 6 straight.
Yeah, so I mean, if that's the case, he scored 6 out of our 9 points here
Yeah.
in the third. Orlando is starting to come off a little bit, but again,
Yeah.
it's they're at home. They're gonna make the
And
game a little tighter.
now's the time to get hot because after this you go to Milwaukee for back to backs against Milwaukee.
After you
And
just beat them pretty badly, even though they didn't have
Giannis,
Giannis, but still, I mean, they still
now
have a
they
game.
do.
But again, you beat them by like what? It was like 30 or something, or damn near close. I mean, it was a
Yeah,
big
damn near.
game.
Yeah, you beat them 135 to 95.
I mean, that's a beatdown at home. I mean, that's a good game. So like,
Yeah.
beating teams like that, it's gonna help. And yeah, I mean, they're starting to streak now. I know All Star break is gonna be in what, February. So
Yep.
that's when you really want to start streaking again. And let's see, when it comes to the division, I think we're second, just behind. Yeah, yeah, Milwaukee. And they're 29-13. We're 25-15.
Yeah.
Indiana's playing pretty well. Honestly, this whole division besides Detroit is playing pretty good this year. Interesting. So yeah, I
Yeah, the
mean,
whole division's balling right now.
yeah. So I mean, the Cavs are still in a very good spot, and to streak like this, keep building it.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see out of this team, and what I need to see out of JB is just quit overthinking the lineups. Go with who's hot. Like, go with stuff that's working. Like, don't shy away from that stuff. Quit trying to fit everybody in. Quit trying to play your guys 40 minutes when they just don't need to, especially when
Yeah.
you've got guys like Merrill, like Niang, like Struss. You don't need to play guys like Donovan and Garland 40-42 minutes. I mean, it's just absurd. It really is. It's absurd for anybody really to play any more than 38 minutes.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, like we said, this team is streaking at the right moment and we're getting hot at the right moment. And, hopefully you can carry this for at least a double digit, win streak. Being on a 10-game win streak would be nice. And it tells the league, like, hey, watch out for us. We're doing this without Mobley and Garland, by the way. We're not doing this fully loaded with a full roster. We're doing this without our best players, a couple of our other best players. So, once we get those guys back, it might be game over. And Garland, I think, is close to coming back too. I think he's like a week away, if that. So we have our guys coming back, and if Karis LeVert and Sam Merrill can keep putting these numbers up off the bench, oh my god, dude, it's the time we had in the playoffs last season. We actually might be able to, and if Jared Allen gets boards like he is now, it's it could be a good run this season.
Yeah,
It could be a great run.
and I think they learned a lot.
Hmm.
Last year about just what it takes to be in the playoffs. What it takes to not only.
And we were the youngest team in the league, so obviously it
We
made
were.
sense. We were gonna get our asses kicked, but that's what happens. But like you said, dude, like they've learned a lot from the beatdown, and I'm sure JB learned a lot from the beatdown, and now you go in there, you take what you learned, and you do it back to the people who did it to you.
Yep. I mean, you got to come in and play a lot more physical in the playoffs, man. I'll tell you what, the Knicks bullied us, and that's why we lost that series.
Hmm.
Um, had we just brought the physicality, I think we really would have done a number on that team, and we could have won that series in 5 or 6 games if we wanted to, and
Yeah.
they just came out not really aggressive, not physical at all. It was just a complete opposite of what they were doing the whole year. So
Yeah.
I really hope they learn from that. But right now they're streaking, they're playing well. That's good to hear, obviously, because I do want this Cavs team to be good, and it always sucks when they aren't playing good, because then it just kind of doesn't really make me want to watch them. When
Yeah.
when they started the year rough, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna let them play it out. I'm not really gonna pay attention or get too, heavily invested because I was so, into this Brown season anyway. But now
Mhm.
that the Browns are done, guys, now we're gonna be talking a lot more Cavs. I mean, obviously we'll still talk Browns because the Browns are gonna be still very active. They're gonna be doing some changes on the coaching staff, and obviously you're gonna start to prep for
The
the draft
draft.
and free agency and all the really 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 fun stuff that we like. And we still have some sort of football going on. So I'm sure we'll definitely start to talk about the playoffs. Obviously, the Super Bowl is just a few weeks
And
away.
don't forget too, not even in the next month, and like the next like 4 or 5 weeks, you got pitchers and catchers reporting
Mm-hmm.
to spring training. So spring training is end of February.
Which means Gardo's time, which
It's Gardo's
means
time.
and Guardians were a lot of fun last year. Obviously they fell short, but they had so much potential, and now there's some fresh faces. There's a difference in that
A
entire
younger,
locker room, and it's just younger, and it just feels a lot more fun. So it's gonna be interesting to see what the
yeah,
new guy does. It really is.
yeah. You got the youngest team in the league, and you literally just brought in Dan Vogt, who is the youngest manager in the league right now. He's not even like 36 years old,
I
and he
mean,
just
I
retired
mean,
from catching.
I was about to say he just retired in what 2022 or one. So
He retired like last season, like
yeah,
the season before.
yeah. So I mean, he's a fresh face and a fresh figure
But
as a
that's what you
coach.
need.
Yeah, you do.
It's time for young baseball, not the old style of baseball anymore.
Yeah,
I love Tito, but the time of his baseball era is over, and
yeah,
it's time for the new age generation, younger guys. And I think he'll do. I think he'll do fine. I think he'll do great.
yeah. Me too. Me
You
too.
just got to think of the Dolans.
All right, guys, that is gonna do it for us. We are already at an hour and 11 minutes now, so we are gonna go ahead and hop off. You guys might see one more this week. I don't know
Hmm.
yet, but we might start getting a little more active. We might even throw in some live streams. I don't know yet, but we're gonna test out the waters because why not?
Yeah.
We are definitely trying to go into this year, trying to improve the channel. I am also talking to people that do thumbnails and stuff like that. So hopefully that will be something that we can do as well. It'll be cool. I'm really excited. So
And maybe this StreamYard background would disappear, and we'll have an actual legitimate
yes,
background.
yes, because I'm really tired of seeing the StreamYard duck
I'm tired of
in
seeing
the
the commercials
background.
on
So
YouTube every time I go on YouTube.
yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for us. This is Just BSN podcast. We will see you guys later this week.